Okay, I want to welcome everyone here this afternoon to the Senior Center to help for this dedication of the historical mural that was done in association with the Fairfield Art Association. I am president of the board. My name is Beth Brownlee. I would like now for all of the board members of the Jefferson County Agency on Aging who are here to please stand so everyone can put a face to your names. These people give a lot of their time and effort to keep this center in the shape that you see it in today. Thank you very much. Also, a very big thank you goes out to Joyce Heisen, our site manager, and Sharon Taylor, who is our assistant site manager. I drove by here yesterday morning at 10 o'clock and their cars were up here, and they were busy doing the decorations, which look very nice. And I'd like for them to stand up, and I thank you very much. May have to correct me as we go along here. The idea for the mural started before I became a member of the board. This is my 4th year as a member and my 3rd year as president and my last year as both. So we will start back in February of 1993 when the Art Association was approached by Mary Sue Watson, who could not be with us here today, and asked if they were interested in decorating the north wall of the senior center. And they thought about it, and they did indicate that the association was interested with possibilities including a mural that was used in Music Man, the Music Man performance, or perhaps there is a canvas of the Fairfield Square that's in possession of Lee Gobble that they had thought about perhaps painting from that canvas. Now we get on to July of 93. Those were the first ideas in February. In July of 93, Mark Schaefer and Nancy Horace, and I did happen to be, I think, at this meeting. Mark Schaefer and Nancy Horace, representing the Fairfield Art Association, presented a slide viewing of the north side of Central Park as an option for the mural painting. The painting was to be done by art students under the supervision of Mark and Nancy. This was considered by the board to be a wonderful project involving a lot of different persons in the community. December 1993, Mark reported that the mural would begin the 2nd semester of the school year, and they did begin making preparations in February of 94. Now this seems like it's all taking a very long time, but I'm going to allow Mark to interject after I'm done and tell you how this all comes together, and I was amazed. So they're going to start on it in February of 1994. In March of 95, now this is a year that's gone by, and we're all sitting here wondering, okay, where's Mark and his mural? The board had begun putting the first sketches on the wall in the basement. They had been penciled in. Lane had hung 2 plywood sheets on the wall downstairs, and they had actually penciled in a sketch of what the mural was to be, with the idea, and I remember Mark saying this, it's sort of like a paint by numbers. Of course, someone had to come up with the original sketch that was on a small piece of paper, keep in mind, and then blow that up on a huge piece of paper, and then take tracing paper, if I recall, and trace all of the detail on the mural, on the board this large, before it could go to the paint by number system. The adult members of the Fairfield Art Association and the Fairfield High School art students and younger students were to take part in this. Actually, it started out as the high school students went to the members of the Fairfield Art Association, and last summer we were blessed in having some of the youth in our community that took part in the summer camp for art students also helped come up and paint on it. I would guess I would like to thank the Art Association, Mark Schaefer in particular. This is his baby. All the members of the Senior Center Board who have supported this throughout the last 3 years. I would like to thank everybody for their wonderful contribution that this is to the center and to the community. I would like all of the people who had a part in the painting to come up and help with the unveiling. And while they are coming up here, I'm going to give the microphone to Mark and have him say a few words.
Thank you. Yeah, you kids that helped paint, like Kelly and Catherine, anybody that laid a paintbrush in this needs to come up right now. And then any members of the Art Association Board, Jane and Dorothy. I don't know if anybody else is here or not. Just stand right in front. And Lane Bush, I think you should help take one of those nails out. You better get up here. Yeah, Lane has been a big help because he primed the wood for us and hung it up and hinged it together and helped make the frame and so forth. You know, Joyce Heisel, you painted the frame. You need to get up here too. Well, you decided on the color. One reason this took so long is that the slide that we had showed the senior site board, we had showed with the intention of just throwing that, projecting that up on the wall and just tracing it directly. But what happened is we couldn't get far enough away from the wall to make it big enough, which consequently meant that I had to draw the whole thing from scratch. And that's why the board wondered where I was, because I was busy enlarging the original drawing by about 5 or 6 or 8 times. I couldn't tell you how much. That took an entire summer just getting that blocked in. And then it took considerable time tracing it off and even more time painting it. And paint by number isn't exactly accurate. I know that's what I said, but that was just to get them off my back, I think. But basically we laid in big, broad, flat areas of color, and that's where the high school kids helped out. They laid in the sky first. We did a nice gradation from kind of a medium blue at the top, fading to almost white toward the horizon. And then we blocked in the large masses of browns that constituted the buildings. And then we blocked in the grass and the red street. Do you remember the red street? Bed? Everybody was having conniptions because the street was this blood red. Well, that was just the underpainting. We had to, you do the underpainting first so that you don't have to worry about individual brush strokes, in the detailing process. You don't have to worry about those covering the entire area. And if some of that underpainting shows through, that's okay. And I think you'll find that the brick streets in the mural are maybe a little richer, redder brown than the real brick streets would have been, but they're not quite the fire engine red that they were before. I think we might want to just unveil it, and then I'll talk about some of the different parts, and maybe the kids up here can see where their names are. Yeah.
We should have a drum roll or something, but we have no drums.
Why don't two of you girls kind of stay up here, kids? You may as well stay up here. Just stand over by the piano for a little bit, or at this end, it doesn't matter. It's in 2 pieces, and you can still see the crack up the center. We need to putty that in, and there's some of the holes that held it temporarily to the wall downstairs. Those need to be puttied in and touched up, but I think it looks pretty finished, I think. And Joyce Heisel needs to take some credit for choosing the color for the frame, right? Sharon, wave at us, Sharon. There you go. This is the north side of the square, about 1910. Those of you that are big on dates would know that there was a light tower in the center of the square at that time that was, I think it was still there in 1913 when they took it down. I opted to leave the base of that light tower out because it would just confuse people. They wouldn't know what it was. But otherwise, it's pretty faithful to the original. The courthouse has its steeple on, as it did originally. I opted for green on that little building by the alley because when I was a kid, I remembered the the bakery there was kind of a green color, maybe not that bright, but it was kind of a green color. And I felt like it needed another color than the brown of the brick for that center to kind of anchor the composition. And then if you look at the little sewing shop next door to the green building, that sesquicentennial sign was painted by one of our seniors last year, Tom Sissushan, who's not here today. Jenny Nicely, I remember, helped block in the brown of the bricks. It was the underpainting for the bricks. Judy Swan painted hundreds of bricks. I mean, she really did a good job on that. And Jane Rowe, didn't you paint some bricks? Oh, she painted leaves, that's right. And she put texture on the bark of the trees. Most everything you see probably has at least 3 layers of color. Do you girls see any of your names? Okay, Kelly, point out your name. All right. And it seems like there was somebody that made a, right? Brenna, here's your name. I remember. Here's the G. Come over here and see if you can make it out. Some of the names really showed up awfully large. Can you see that G kind of hanging down into the into the sidewalk? Hey, that's the G of Reineberger. And what we did with the kids in the art camp was we brought them down here. The grass was already just painted a dark, flat green, and I had pre-mixed a number of shades of green and like some turquoise blue and some yellows. And the idea was that they were to paint their name, and I thought I specified that each letter, or maybe even each brush stroke should be a different kind of green. But some of the kids just went ahead and made these gigantic letters that were bright yellow and had to be toned down a little bit. But I can see Emily Roth's name on there, and I see Catherine Roloff, Heather Tucker from the high school, and Jolene Phillips from the high school. I know Catherine Bell, Dorothy Bell's granddaughter, is in there. There were about 30 kids. Oh, here's Emily Roth's name right here. And then somebody named Winter. If you look really closely, you can make out about 30 names in there. Some are easier to see than others. And I hope people who had their names toned down aren't disappointed that they're not as legible as they were originally. That they just kind of screamed at us. The shadows of the trees tend to have the adult helpers' names. This is kind of an interesting little thing. Tricia Melvin and Eric Voorhees were 2 of the high school students that helped. And after graduation, they got married. Tricia's maiden name is now under this tree. So it's Tricia right here, and then Eric Voorhees on the other side. So that's kind of our wedding tree in the park. The trees are not positioned, historically. I just stuck them in there in such a way that we didn't cover up too much of the buildings that we worked so hard on. I can't remember any other names. Can you kids think of anybody else? And a lot of the kids that we called couldn't even remember doing this, so that must not have made a big impression. But when you're in first grade, 2 years ago is a long time. So I don't have much else to say except thank you very much to the senior site for asking us to do this. Frankly, we didn't think it was going to take 3 years because, like I say, the original idea was just to trace off a drawing that was already on a slide. But I think the delay was actually kind of fortuitous because, heck, we're in line with the sesquicentennial, so this is a nice way to kick off the celebration that's going to be going on next weekend. And just to make a plug for the Art Association, I don't know if there are any other organizations in town that have done as many sesquicentennial-related things as the Art Association. We had that sesquicentennial tea a few weeks ago, Tea with Your Ancestors. That was a fashion show with historic gowns and so forth, and ethnic Iowa desserts. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. There have been other things like Richard Thompson's and Bonnie's display of political buttons and election memorabilia. That's in line not only with the election, but I think it's also appropriate for the sesquicentennial year. And we've done some other things too that I think have made the sesquicentennial come alive for this town. So thank you, senior citizens, for helping us to celebrate Iowa. And I think I'll just stop talking now and let people come up and take a closer look. If you have any questions, be sure to ask. Thank you again.
Once again, I would like to thank the Art Association for all its efforts. I think this is just something. As we watched it as a board, it was downstairs where we'd have our board meetings, and we watched it progress, and we did have a couple of fearful moments when the streets were blood red and then things weren't looking quite like we thought they should. But we are most impressed with it. We're so pleased to be able to have this in our community. Like I said, with kids having helped with it, it'll be here for years and years. For people that you know that would enjoy seeing this, please tell them it's here. Have them drop in and take a look at it. We'd love to have anybody for lunch. We serve Monday through Friday at 11:30. So pass the word along. It's here for the entire community to enjoy and to view. Have kids bring their grandparents up and show them their names in the grass. Thank you all for coming.
I'd like to add one more comment. This was not planned, but kind of an interesting sidelight is that if you step out the front door here and look north, you're going to be seeing the east end of what's being depicted here. So it's kind of like a window into the past. It's almost like you're looking out the north window here and seeing what Fairfield looked like in that spot to the north 80, 90, 100 years ago. So I feel good about that coincidence. Thank you again.